If you think hitting 10% body fat requires hours in the gym, a complicated plan, and years of total sacrifice, you're already overcomplicating it. Because the truth is, most people are just a few kilos of fat loss and some consistent training away from looking genuinely incredible. But they never get there. And it's not because it's complicated, but it's because they're focusing on the wrong things. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how much you actually need to change to hit 10% body fat, what getting lean actually looks like in real life versus what social media is selling you, and the simplest plan that actually works. I've been a personal trainer for 11 years and delivered over 8,500 one-on-one sessions, and the clearest way I can show you why simple beats complicated every single time starts with the 8 years I wasted finding out the hard way. And to explain why most people never hit 10% body fat despite years of genuine effort, I need to tell you about a period of my training that I'm not particularly proud of. From the age of 16 to my mid-20s, I did everything the fitness industry told me to do. 6-day splits, bulk phases where I ate everything in sight and convinced myself the extra body fat was temporary. Cutting phases where I dropped calories so hard I lost all the muscle I just spent months building. I bought every supplement that claimed to make a difference. I followed every new training approach that came out. I read everything, watched everything on YouTube, tried everything. And here's what 8 years of that actually produced. I was in decent shape by most people's standards, but I never really hit 10% body fat. Not across 8 years of genuinely trying, because every time the body composition was actually moving, I'd switch the approach, try something new, and reset the whole thing. And the reason it kept happening was that I genuinely believed more complexity was the answer. That somewhere out there was a system complicated enough to finally crack it, when really the problem was the opposite. And here's why that belief is the single most common thing keeping people stuck. And the structure I'm about to give you is already laid out in the Softer Lean program. It's linked in the description. It's 4 weeks, 3 sessions a week, progressive overload built in, and it's there for when you're ready. The fitness industry has a problem. It doesn't make money by getting you results. It makes money by keeping you confused. So instead of telling you do these basics for 2 to 3 years and you'll look great, it tells you to optimize everything, try new methods every single week, the perfect routine. But here's what's actually true. The people who actually look good have been doing the same boring basics for years. And here's what those basics actually are, because most people have never laid it out this simple. And let me show you something most people never actually clock. The difference between someone who looks like they don't train and someone who looks like they genuinely do, it's not actually as much muscle as most people think. We're talking maybe 7 to 10 kilos of actual muscle gain, and it could even be less. Not years and years of grinding for mass. Most of that comes in the first 2 to 4 years of training consistently. You don't need 2-hour workouts, you don't need 6 days a week in the gym, and you do not need bodybuilder level size. You need wider shoulders, a bit of chest, a decent back, some arms, and that's pretty much it. And most people who've been training any decent amount of time are closer to that number than they already think. But here's where most people mess that up. They chase muscle when they should be chasing something else entirely. And this is the part that changes how most people think about the goal, because they think they need more muscle, but what they actually need is to lose more fat than they're currently comfortable with. Because being lean does something genuinely surprising once you're there. It creates the illusion of size. The muscle you already have looks completely different at 10% body fat than it does at 18 or 20%. You're sharper, you're more defined, more proportionate. You don't necessarily look bigger, but you do look better. A perfect example of this is Brad Pitt in Fight Club. It's the physique most people actually want when they say they want to look athletic or in good shape. He wasn't carrying a huge amount of muscle, but he was lean. And that leanness is what made the physique look the way it did. Because in a t-shirt, you probably couldn't even tell that he trained. And here's the thing that comes up every time I talk about this. And it's worth being honest about because it catches people off guard. When you lean down properly, you might actually feel like you look smaller in clothes for a while. And I've definitely felt this. And that's completely normal. High body fat makes you look bigger in a jumper because you fill it out more. Whereas low body fat makes you look better without it. The trade-off is real, but it doesn't last that long because the fix is build a muscle in the right places. Shoulders, upper chest, lats. You could even say neck as well. Those are the muscles that give you the filled out look even when you're lean. And 3 full body sessions a week hits all of them. You don't need a complicated training split. So here's what actually works for almost everyone. 3 sessions a week, all full body, all under an hour each. Every session hits the same basic structure. Something for your legs, a push, a pull, 1 or 2 arm exercises, 2 to 3 working sets per exercise, taken very close to failure. All your weights tracked in a logbook or an app every session, and that's progressive overload, which is basically just doing more than last time, which is what your body needs to keep adapted. And I know what some people are already thinking. What about shoulders specifically? What about arms? They're already being trained in a full body program. Every push movement hits your chest and shoulders. Every pull movement hits your back and a lot of biceps. If you want more direct lateral delt or rear delt exercises, add a couple of sets of lateral raises or some face pulls or reverse flies. months. Some addition, noticeable difference in how the physique looks. But the foundation is the 3 sessions and the progressive overload. Everything else is just more detail. And here's where most people get this completely wrong. They spend so much time on the detail that the foundation never actually gets done consistently. For example, 3 sessions a week for 2 years beats 6 sessions a week for 3 months, then doing nothing every single time. And the training side of this is in the Softer Lean program. As I said, it's built for people who don't want to spend 90 minutes in the gym. And here's the honest truth about all of this, because it's the part most people actually struggle with the most, and a lot of fitness content glosses straight over it. The hardest part of all of this isn't the training, not because training is easy. Most people can drag themselves to the gym. The food side is where it actually falls apart. So here's the simplest version of what actually works. I always recommend all of my clients track honestly for the first 4 to 6 weeks. And when I say that, we're tracking calories. Not forever, not obsessively, just long enough to understand your actual baseline. And most people discover the gap is bigger than they expected. Restaurant meals, weekend drinks, the incidental stuff that doesn't feel like eating, but it all adds up without you even realizing. And once you can see it, you can sort it. Hit 30 grams of protein every meal, and that one change makes the whole thing a lot more manageable. It keeps the hunger in check, protects your muscle while the fat comes down, and that means you're not YOLOing your way through a deficit every day. And here's the diet principle that matters more than anything else in the long run. Pick an approach you can repeat for years. Not necessarily the most optimal one or the most complicated one, but the one you don't quit. And here's the bit most videos skip, because the right focus depends on where you're actually starting from. If you're carrying a decent amount of body fat right now, fat loss is the priority. Get lean first. The muscle you've already got will look completely different once the fat comes down, and you'll have a much better sense of what you're actually working with. If you're already pretty lean but not seeing the definition you want, it's more of a progressive overload and building a bit of muscle problem. You're probably closer than you think though, and the basics just need to be applied consistently. If you're already fairly new to training, just train 3 sessions a week, progressive overload tracked every session, sort your nutrition, and the body composition changes faster in the first 2 or 3 years than they ever will again. Trust me, I'd love to go back to 2012 to 2015 and experience that again. Don't overcomplicate it. Same principles for all 3, just a slightly different focus depending on where you stand. And here's the most honest version of how long this actually takes, because most people either underestimate the timeline or give up before it actually get to the end result. So year 1, noticeable changes, strength goes up faster than you'd expect, body composition starts shifting, people who know you well start mentioning it. And then year 2, the changes are visible to everyone. You look like someone who genuinely trains. People who haven't seen you for a while notice immediately, and then in year 3, you look better than the vast majority of people who ever set foot in a gym. Not because you've done anything extreme, because you've done the simple things for longer than most people manage before switching to something else. And then from year 4 onwards, you maintain in something that most people spend years chasing and never reach. And the maintenance is straightforward because the habits are just part of how you live now. And I spent 8 years believing the answer was somewhere in the complexity. A better split, a more optimized program, the right combination of training and nutrition I just hadn't found yet. And the answer was none of those things. And the sooner you stop looking for the complicated version and start doing the simple one, the sooner the result you've been chasing actually arrives. But here's the thing, even once the training and nutrition are completely sorted, most people still hit something they genuinely didn't see coming. And there's one specific reason the fat stops moving even when everything else looks right, and it's almost never what people think it is. And I've got a video covering exactly what that is somewhere over here, so watch that next.